one on Gale over Gale Force Esports on Braxis of all maps.
Yeah, we could continue to say this every time Gale Force loses on Braxis in a best of 5. It feels like it hurts. That feels like it should be the relied upon victory for Gale Force Esports, but they'll have to figure that or find that victory somewhere else. Prismaticism ended that game with 74 stacks. Pretty good, pretty impressive on that Chromie. We had some awesome stacking earlier in Europe too. Schwimpy had something like 120 Ranger stacks. The Sentinels were gross, just gross.
Owls are one of the scariest stacking spells I think that exists in the game. Just old Tyrande, I was absolutely terrified of the Owl. New Tyrande, I mean, it just kind of puts a new mark on that one. She is just a beast of her own. Nobody likes... She almost becomes Asmodan to a certain extent, right? Like the same threat we were talking about through the whole game, she can really become that type of hero if you are effective with those.
And you know, we were talking about the Asmodan, but I didn't get to mention, you think about the size of a globe versus the size of the skill shot of Sandblast. Yeah, Sandblast has a very low cooldown, so you can continue to shell them out, but the globe has a little bit of wiggle room because it's so big, you can just drop it on the whole minion wave and maybe hit a lot of people, especially in sieging. So great job by Prismat for his team, but we're going to talk about some other players. We're looking at the side laning players, Goku versus Michael Udall. Goku has slightly more takedowns, slightly fewer deaths, but a way larger KDA ratio.
Goku, man. I mean, you can just say the guy's Super Saiyan, really. He has risen through the North American scene. He finds himself standing near the top, if not on the very top here. The numbers show it. His gameplay shows it. I have never seen a player grow as much as this guy right here on the right-hand side of this. It is just ridiculous what he's been able to show. Confidence is showing as well. Dropping the interviews, saying he's willing to decimate Gale Force Esports. Everything here is just, he's a new player for me.
Even saying that they could go as far as to 3-0 Gale Force Esports. That is no easy feat, my friends, but having a lot of confidence in himself, in his new team, and Roll20 having a lot of confidence in him, even putting him on Uther last game.
Yeah.
As fun as that was, I want his mouth ale back. I want to see the new Leoric with him. I want some Goku-styled heroes.
And I mean, we hype up Goku a lot because he is an outstanding player, but we talked about Roll20. We didn't think they would be the team to venture into double support, and Goku was the one kind of filling that off role and moving into that. Let's be honest here, wasn't maybe the most outstanding performance by him. 2 of his Divine Shields were very effective. One of them was essentially impossible to mess up and be effective as long as he's in range, which he was. And then all the other ones were on himself being out of position. So there's still a lot of growth to be done in that side role. I mean, to be frank, if that we're going to go, you know, the best of the world, erase the names, and that double support performance, I would say very beatable. So there is still room to grow, but it's a double support, and it is a weird role for him in general, not his play style. And Roll20 still made it work, right? Their team fight prowess is just able to make up for that, which again shows the strength of Roll20.
Yeah, it's even just a little bit different because you wouldn't see a double support feature a double range, but that kind of is the Braxis holdout effect. Let's see where we're going next and see if maybe a double support would still be possible. Roll20, wait a second. I was sure, I saw Warhead and I was like, Gale Force, it's Gale Force, they picked this. We're gonna do something crazy, but maybe we are, but for Roll20.
Roll20 taking us to Warhead Junction. I don't have much to say. I'm just bring on the draft. That's what I have to say here because I have no idea what they've got in store. If I was to guess something, it's got to be Glaurung based. If I was to guess what that weird, unique hero strategy style. But at the same time, he's been moving away from the melee, flashy playstyle as time has moved on.
Okay, so hear me out.
Hearing you out.
What did Goku say was the main thing that Gale Force Esports were good at?
I mean, I would say globals and macro
running
pressure.
Globals. What if they're purposely taking them places where they know? Well, I guess, but they knew Braxis would be picked because Gale Force Esports was home team. They're going to pick the first map.
Their draft is most predictable.
Yeah, their drafting is predictable. They figured out how to deal with Gale Force's Globals, maybe.
From a strategic standpoint, I completely agree that that makes a whole lot of sense.
Sure.
The only reason I'm kind of hitting the pause button here a little bit is, number one, that's the first time any team in North America has gone as far as to respect their opponent enough to consider the map predictability in the draft from what I've seen.
Sure.
And so I'm not putting it past them. I think it is brilliant if that is the case. It's just, I didn't think Roll20 would be giving Gale Force that amount of respect, that this series would mean that much to them. Yes, it does have a lot on the line, but I feel like they're coming in here confident. So that to be the series they show it, I'm just wondering if they really are giving that to Gale Force, but you could very much be correct.
Or you're saying that Roll20 is coming in hot?
They've
rolled a nat 20.
Yeah.
It's a critical hit.
It's a critical hit.
It would be a critical hit, honestly, to defeat them on Braxis holdout. They're feeling good after that first game. Let's see what they have in store for us on Warhead Junction.
I'm going with like a Zeratul, maybe an Illidan Task Tracer. Those are the ones that stand out in my head is like if they're going to bust out the wild pick. And again, those are Glorung focused, and he's been moving away from that. So let's say it's Prismat. Maybe it's even Goku, for that matter, that is going to bust out the wild hero. What in those avenues? Maybe a Leo for, you know, Goku. I can see that being something they make work here. Other than that, I'm at a bit of a loss.
I really don't know, but we had a Hasuops Probius earlier today, so anything is possible on today in Heroes of the Storm.
Hasuops, the man who can set the tone for all of the world and what is possible. Thank you very much, Hasuops, for your contributions.
I just loved it because he really was a Protoss player, and then he plays Probius. It was like, yes.
Okay, that makes sense. We've gone full circle here.
Tyrael Greymane. Whoa.
High in rotation for Roll20.
That's aggro.
Talk about all in. Very boss focused as well. Boss control from both of those heroes. But the Tassadar is there for Gale Force Esports. We know that the Tracer could be soon to follow here. I expect it to come before the secondary if it is going to be selected. But Tyrael is a hero that's actually pretty good at decentivizing the Tracer. I don't feel like it's a counter by any means, but it kind of is a soft just from the high mobility he provides. He's really good at trading decently into her out of all the warriors. Think about how free he is to gap close on top of her and make her look kind of poor, but then he also can save a lot of targets too, where she doesn't get the same damage output. It's not like a, oh, I don't want to, but it is a little bit more awkward than most warriors, especially because usually you're just like, how much crowd control do you have? You don't go, can you kill me? Because most can't. Gale Force is thinking about it though. They got 8 seconds left. Pressure's on.
It is.
It's going to be a double global.
Anub, Illidan, one global. So the only thing I was like, if it's not a Task Tracer, it's definitely a Task Illidan.
Yeah, it has to be.
Gale Force Esports. They love their Illidan, and they will pick him up here. So now the consideration becomes, how do we do with this Illidan? Is Gale Force going to ban an Arthas? Can we take Arthas here? Arthas Tyrael. Tyrael gives movement speed to go along with Arthas, so he's not kited. He'd fit that death ball type of strategy very well for Roll20.
This is... For Roll20 in this ban.
I wonder if Gale Force is going to Bright Wing with that task.
It would make a lot of sense.
Or Morales.
Or Morales. You know, I know she was changed.
She's popular in Korea.
But, like, is she popular with an Illidan who's going to be diving all over the place?
They played that yesterday. Gale Force did.
I'm always so very scared when I see those two together. But to be honest, I do have a theory on why that would work better with Gale Force Esports than some of the others. We'll bring that to light when the game unfolds, because it is a bit of a talking point on mainly how they use their Illidan. Yes, they do love their Illidan, but I will kind of raise the question, should they love their Illidan, or at least the way they kind of play it out? Their initiations do seem to be a bit lackluster in the world of globals and how the hunt is used.
Okay, so they did play Morales with Illidan, but that was also the Vikings composition. So we're not for sure that that is a standard thing for them, but they do feel like Morales is...
It's Juice Pirates. They're afraid of Juice Pirates.
Ah, yes.
That's a classic Juice Pirates. Anybody who doesn't know what Juice Pirates is, it's an old strategy, usually used on Sky Temple because you can open up the fort the fastest, but it's essentially the Morales. You all in onto the keep with the Medivac, then you drop the Sanctification, nobody takes the damage. And whenever you get the keep, then you go to the core. You just all in over and over and over again onto the core in hopes that you just outdamage your opponent.
And I do believe it's called the Juice Pirates because it used to be played with Raynor, who gives Inspire, and then Pirates because it shows a little pirate ship on the map, right?
I do know the Juice aspect, don't know the pirate one. I wasn't the original.
It was a little pirate ship on the mini-map.
It was the second rendition of Cloud9 that named it, so I don't actually know the thought process behind that all. Sad days, but...
It remains a mystery in the best way.
In the best way possible. I like it. I think it's one of the best strategies that we have.
What I'm glad is that it's still a possibility, even with the Morales changes. But we've got Ariel Lily instead.
Not what I expected there whatsoever.
Blinds for days for that Illidan.
Illidan's going to have a hard time here for Gale Force Esports. Now, what's the major going to bust out to maybe make up for that? Because there's no way you want to lock in another auto attacker after seeing those. A lot of cross supporting across the board. So Lily suffers into burst. Ariel, one of the weaker into burst, no cleanse, but the Lily has the cleanse. So how do we come up with this solution, Gale Force Esports? Because I'm going to be honest, I'm struggling here.
I'm pretty sure they were wanting to do their Illidan Vala like they were running yesterday.
But I'm not going to say it doesn't have a chance, but I'm going to say it's very, very grim or, you know, slim chances. This has to be a mage somewhere to make up for this, an enabler.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind the Jaina, actually. I think that might be the one that I want to see, just the all-in one-shot, but Tyrael is such a good anti-Jaina. So, I mean, to be honest, I want KT, to be frank, but I know he's not an option.
Not today.
Not today,
Next
boys.
week.
Soon. So who is it? Brightwing.
Brightwing, of course.
And Falstad. Triple global, again, for Gale esports. They're going to have to make it look good in this one. And it's Zarya, last pick.
There you go, Dread.
Are they 5-man? They're 5-man laning. Is Roll20 all inning?
I'm not even going to... Weeks, Dread. They have spent weeks on their strategy for Gale Force. I won't even begin to try to, like, figure out what went into the thought process for these comps, but explain maybe where you're going with this.
Yeah, because I realized, I'm like, are they all inning? And everybody's like, what the hell is all inning, Dread?
I think it's a good, all in is a good implication of what it means, but maybe just in case.
It's a feel the heat up in your face, 5-man and all in the same lane. You take as much damage as possible. You have Tyrael, Greymane, and Zarya. Those are some of the highest cross-supporting damage output, but also siege heroes in the game. So you just walk up to the front walls. You abuse the Arya, who's getting hope off of the Greymane, AoE supporting. Lily, also one of the better AoE supporters. One of the higher damage outputters, too, in the world of support. So you just walk up to the walls. You go, this is mine now. It disappears, and you move on to the next one. While Gale Force, they're cross-supporting, side-soaking. It is harder into a double global and triple global for that matter. So I don't think they have to, but they could decide to do that with this type of draft. The biggest thing I got to say is if I see a grenade build, I'm going to be a sad panda into a double support, especially with Brightwing having AoE passive healing. Please give me Feel the Heat.
We could not get through that without talking about the Zarya build, so I guess we'll see what it's going to be. Let's do it. Game 2 with Roll20 currently sitting 1-0 in this best of 5 over Gale Force.
You know?
And what is it? Prisma? Is it going to be Prisma? It might be Goku playing Zarya.
I always, you know, it's just like with Feel the Heat for
There
me,
you go.
Yeah. It's like, if you can't stand the heat, get off the Zarya, is like how I feel about it. That should be the standard phrase for Zarya. If you can't stand the heat, get off Zarya. Because you got to feel it. You got to feel it good. Goku is the man on the Zarya.
We've got a Prismaticism Lily. That Bud's Skinergy is pretty cool.
You like it?
I'm liking it.
So 1-3-1.
It's an angel in space. How do you not like it?
I mean, literally Space Station Gaming and Picterion is the same thing. I mean, I just feel like you're underappreciating Space Station Gaming and the out of this world dimension or aspect that they provide for HGC.
They can pick it up.
Hey, you are right.
Tiger JK, here you go.
Here you go. That's the synergy.
We are, in fact, not all inning.
We aren't. Sad days. It's going to be 1-3-1 or 2-1-2. It's a kind of Lily's, the hover Lily, classic Lily play. Not really, actually. Normally, if you do see a Lily, she sticks to a lane because she's one of the best lane bullies in the game.
She is very good.
Also good anti-siege, so it makes sense that she's going to match the 4-man of Gale Force esports. They're just dancing around, facing front walls left and right.
Yeah, she's got Gale Force already, which gives increased damage on her Blinding Wind, and then at level 4, when she gets Mass Vortex, she can hit 4 targets instead of the standard 2 with the blinds. That will be very useful versus the composition that Gale Force has chosen to employ on Warhead Junction in Game 2.
But you can tell the Gale Force things currently aren't going according to plan, just judged by the Falstad build. Hold up here, barrel roll used, it's interrupted. Wow. That is going to be a huge kill. Grenade 1, grenade 2.
We've got the auto attack.
Ariel's in the way.
Oh, there you go. But just wanted the kill steal.
I mean, absolutely, got to get that chaos for first blood. How often can you say support's the one getting first blood?
Bud's got it. Glowring's going to come in. King Caffeine's there. Brightwing will even phase shift in. Watch for the Polymorph. Polymorph hits Glowrung. King Caffeine burrowed into, but Glow with the shielding of Justing and the supporting of Lily was just fine.
And before Fan went down, what I was going to say about Falstad is that fact that he went into Gathering Storm traditionally indicates that he wanted to be into more of a not a 1v1 lane matchup. So the fact that he's stuck there dealing with the Zarya is a bit of a kind of awkward situation for him. Normally you would, it might change post 10 once they have the Illidan with the Hunt dancing around, the 4-man Falstad can't commit to.
Roll20 are hanging out here, but they have already gotten the mid. It's so interesting. They're the ones who are spread out, even though it's a multiple global composition for Gale Force. Gale Force sticks together, gets the top nuke, starts setting that, and immediately is stopped setting that by Buds. But in that time, Roll20 not only got a nuke, contested for a little bit, decided against it, and got a mercenary camp for Greymane in the bottom lane.
They're just winning on all fronts here over Galeforce esports. And now with a full level lead, pre-10, I mean, the minion wave is pushing against Galeforce in both top, mid, and bottom, so the experience isn't as lopsided as it currently looks, but it's still pretty bad. Roll20 should not be this far ahead at all, considering the fact that they have only gotten that 1 kill. So this is just brilliant transitions, and another case of levels 1 through 9, the double global of Galeforce esports not holding its own to Roll20. This is not good at all, Gale. This is the core composition of Galeforce, and Roll20 straight up dismantling it back to back.
And without a single global, just good rotations, fantastic macro play, and catching that 1 pick. Nobody has used their first nuke as of yet. Michael Udall may be getting into position to start sieging in this bottom lane. He did take Unbound again. This is something that we saw Mike pick yesterday versus Slagforce as a way of making faster rotations. Look at the top.
Yeah, top lane, the boss is going to be starting. I also, on second thought, in talking about fans build, I realized this because of the double blind that he went into mage stat. It took me a while to figure that out, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. But actually, now thinking about it, it was because they wanted to mage in that last slot. So not surprising to commit to that build, but still be in the 1 versus 1.
Yeah, good call.
I was just like, it just didn't add up. That didn't seem like a fan decision to make here. But the boss picked up for Roll20. Galeforce has started their own up on bottom. A double camp here, 1 warhead in the hands of Prismaticism, but the fort's already dead before the boss gets there. This means Roll20 wants minimum of keep. If they get even enough damage, and again, they have a Feel the Heat, great siege composition, they might even risk game depending on.
But it's not so bad because Galeforce has been doing the same thing in the bottom lane, right? They have also been sieging down that fort. They're working on getting the boss to the bottom lane, and they themselves have a nuke. Unfortunately for them, that nuke just phase shifted up to the top lane to try to help defend, and they are going to use that as a defensive strategy because
and it's not even going to hit the boss.
It is not going to hit the boss.
It barely hits the camp, Gilly.
Because Roll20 had the faster rotation, the faster boss pickup. They are taking down this keep, and how?
If they had 10, they'd be going for game here. The boss still at 50% HP, but they are looking to move up, maybe get some core damage. There is no mule available. We'll find out here. The turret drops, and Roll20 moves forward.
They're still going.
They want it.
They're getting on the core right now. Boss is about 1/3 of its health. Michael Udall doing what he can to his detainment strike will stop it for now, but Roll20 still sieging down this core. It's at 60%, and it's still going down. All the members of Roll20 are still alive. Nobody at all has fallen. This is a 5-minute game. Roll20 just won in 5 minutes.
I asked, would Roll20 all in? And the answer was yes, but not at the time I thought they would. They used their sieging deathball composition with the boss rather than in the early laning section. Stop the bleeding of Galeforce, and then at the end of the day, looking good here. Very good.
Honestly, guys, this was so fast that nobody was even in position. We weren't in position. It was like, oh.
Nope. There's guys up in the back. Yeah, our camera guy, in case you're wondering, he was trying to get a snack going on, and he was like, oh, the game's over. 5 minutes in. All right.
So it doesn't happen very often. We were surprised.
I a little bit, you know. I mean, to be honest.
You were surprised.
Go back, look at that last replay, look at how much damage Zarya does to the core, and then let me know if you're surprised that you're willing to a set call. I will keep talking about the talent because its siege damage is just absolutely ridiculous. Her auto attack speed at max range, she was sitting at over 80, 90%. She was just...
The core's like...
And everybody's like, the first kill target for the members of Galeforce was Zarya because of her damage output. And they still couldn't kill her.
Well, I have some good news for you. We can go back and watch the replay of this.
Look, you can't individually separate it because we can't look at the stats, but I'm telling you, she's got to do roughly 20,000, it feels like, to the core. She just, I mean, it's not really 20K, let's be real at this stage, but it's close.
This nuke was rough. Goku just making everybody feel the heat. The detainment strike on Michael Udall was really good on the core, too, once Bud sees that staying in the back. But Glaurung is also another really scary target. Normally, he would be the first target to try to take down on the core, but because Goku is consistently keeping that energy up, still had enough on the boss, they'll just
watch this thing, dude. He
step
just
back forward. He tanks some shots.
This is it. That's the game. He doesn't move. How much damage do you think he does to the score?
Just look at it.
0 respect.
You can hear it. It's full. He finally dies.
Your core is mine. Very well done from Roll20. Impressive play.
I cannot believe.
I didn't think they would pretend, to be honest. If that was a sanctification composition, I'm like, oh, this game is donezo. With a Zarya, even if as long as they don't have Mule, that's a winning call. Like, just go for it. I just didn't know they would be successful with that early on was the biggest thing. And luckily so, because if we take a minute to consider, let's say that had been later and that call had happened literally 3 levels later, then you're looking at Gust, you're looking at Emerald Wind. There's a lot of good disengage. And a new Barak, I believe, existed on the other side. There's Cocoon. I mean, you don't end the game. You just don't have a chance outside of your sanctification and your 5 seconds of playtime. You easily fail that core call. So it was good decision making from Roll20 to understand that.
Well, that was game 2. So we're gonna go to a break. We'll be back with game 3. See you soon.
More scrapes and adventures than I can count. That being said, I've never seen anything like this.
Hail, hero.
Is that a frog in a bubble? Oh gosh, they are so cute. Well then, there's so many friendly people here. Coming through. Love the hair.
Oh, the cavalry's here.
This place is awesome! I found some Vikings! Wow, you're big! The name's Tracer, and the Nexus could always use more heroes. Ah! Not funny! Hi, new friend. I am Brightwing. Do you know about fairy dragons? Well, we like happy things, like nature and making new friends. Ooh, and snack time. When playing with friends, the fun never ends. Hey, come back.
It's not easy being queen. So many subjects to keep in line. So many scores to settle. I am the Swarm. And vengeance has never looked this good.
Roll20 has definitely proven that they know how to deal with the global comp of Gale Force esports. First on Brax's Holdout, Gale Force's favorite map, but then even in 5 minutes on Warhead Junction. So we're just about ready for game 3 between these two teams.
We are, and it feels like we almost didn't even experience that game number 2. It's a bit hard to take too much away from that other than very clever play from Roll20. And the biggest thing I feel like we have to highlight, though it was only 5 minutes of play, the first 4 minutes of it was Roll20 cleverly getting a full level advantage without even having a global. And that is, you have to be scared. That is, again, the core compositions of Gale Force. When they struggle, they go to globals. But what happens when you struggle with globals? Where do you go next? I feel like we're going to experience that for the first time. And to be honest, I don't think there's very much left at the bottom of this barrel for Gale Force in terms of the strategies they got going on.
Well, let's see what battleground it is. You would generally think that it would be Cursed Hollow that Gale Force picks, as we've seen that happen, right, with the Vikings, with the Morales Illidan composition of yesterday. But that is a question that we posed. What is left in the bag of strategies when Lag Force pushes you to reverse sweep them after winning 2 games in a row? Gale Force has given up first pick. They're taking us to Dragonshire, so it's something. It is something here on Dragon that they're planning to do in this game to hopefully once again start the reverse sweep.
a reverse sweep against Lag Force, and I go, you know, tip the hat. I'm impressed. A reverse sweep against Roll20, and I say, not possible. So Gale Force,
I would agree.
Best of luck here. Tassadar is going to be the first step to see if it is, in fact, a reality, as the Ariel already removed, and Roll20 is going to get Justing his ETC here. Well, that could be Goku's too. It doesn't have to be Justing.
That's true. Someone will be bringing the Mega Death for Roll20. I hope it's Justing. I want Mosh. I don't want any of the stage dives either. But it does leave things flexible for Roll20 if they do need Goku to play that hero at the top lane. So now Gale Force have 2 picks. Is it continued globals? It's Dragonshire, so it would allow them to be able to force rotations around, try to maybe steal beacons, but also it doesn't set up necessarily for them to be really strong in the fighting aspect. So instead they're going to get their Vala back and go for a new Barak.
Which screams to me the transition that Gale Force is trying to make when they get pressured. It's going to be supports. They're going to try and go more hyper carry. I think I was going to try and pose it is if they pick the Dahaka there, they're going back to the norm. But if they don't end up picking the Dahaka there, it's like, it's so good on a map like Dragonshire, so meta in that type of rotation. It just goes, does it play to the strengths of Gale Force enough to win the series? And I'm glad that they avoided it. It does make me still concerned because obviously now you're going to be struggling in globals. That's never something you want to say for Gale Force esports, especially when it accents a map. It's hard, but I'm glad to see Gale Force at least make some kind of adjustments. And the High Vala says this is going to be the fan hyper carry show. How can we enable them best? But Ariel's already banned out, so we're removing a lot of that core. ETC can synergize well with the Uther pickup. We've already postulated that could be the core of double support, so Gale Force esports, wow, they're even going to pick up the Rhaegar with the opportunity to ban it. They're going to be pressured to where neither one of those are proper. So we're going to see a tier 3 or at least a brand new strategy for Gale Force, I feel.
It may be that Morales.
It may be the Morales. I just don't know if that is enough to be able to recover. I hope it is here for Gale Force.
When picking Dahaka ETC, it will be Justing playing ETC, so we will hopefully be getting to see his mosh pits, but because Anub'arak and Vala were already taken, there's already a lot of interrupts with Reign of Vengeance and everything that Anub'arak has to offer. But with Dahaka, we've got Goku back on Dahaka, which means every drag pretty much is going to be hitting. And then Rhaegar for Buds to make rotations with the team, give that big burst heal, and importantly, be able to help out with the wave clear. Gale Force is looking at Falstad. Roll20 has been playing a little more Falstad. They've been, especially on Dragonshire, picking heroes for Glaurung like Falstad or Zeratul that allow him to make a lot of clever ganks possible for the team. So Gale Force are at least going to say, you can't have Dahaka and Falstad.
But it is a bit of a double-edged sword, considering that Gale Force esports themselves traditionally like to have that Falstad. Also, the Falstad indicates that maybe there was interest in the Malthael into the mismatch laning of Malthael versus Dahaka for Goku up on top. So Roll20, I mean, they took almost no time to be like, blip, that one's off the battlefield here. And suddenly the top lane is now open territory. Do you put Mike Udall back onto an Illidan to be able to trade into that? That hasn't looked that successful. I'm going to be honest, I want something like the Leo, something new, something different that accents the map. We've seen other regions make it work. There's got to be a difference here for Gale Force, and it does feel like the Leoric has to be the direction they go. Or a Zagara with that Lieutenant Morales.
They have Zagara for the range damage, the immense amount of pressure that she can put onto any lane when she is soloing. And then Akaface brings back Lieutenant Morales, not having a Falstad. Zeratul will be the pick for Glaurung. Everything going as planned. Is this a Prismaticism Chromie? Is this a Prismaticism Nazebo? Both
Jaina.
are possible picks here.
Jaina would be so good. Lieutenant Morales dies so hard to Zeratul Void Wombos, so does Zag, and also Jaina provides wave clear and kill potential to the 4-man. It's one of the few cases like this is screaming. They go for a later slow play by the Nazebo. Man, I would have liked a lot more offensive here from Roll20. And there's the Vikings. So now the Nazebo pick paid off a lot easier. It's a lot safer. It's not as teeter-tottery as I like to put it there for the earlier stages. Still feel like I like the Jaina the most, but...
Gale Force are the Team Liquid of Dragonshire. Or Dragonshire. Team Liquid are the Team Liquid of Dragonshire. Gale Force is the Team Liquid of North America. We're getting Vikings back on Dragonshire. That has been so long since this has been played, but it is something that Team Liquid has done many a time.
So, I'm a little scared. There's a lot to say on the Dragonshire Vikings Zeratul situation here.
You are talking about Grim Task?
Yeah, well, okay, so let's just start off because I feel like we've never had a Vikings on Dragonshire in North America flat out. So if you don't watch Europe, you might not even know how this is going to be played. There's two different ways you can go for it. One is to kind of be the, the ever other traditional Vikings play where you go, well, you go here, well, I'm going to be annoying, capture the top shrine. Isn't that neat? Kind of global-esque and abusing that. The other is to be a tri-lane proxy solo top.
Yep.
And that is the most effective by far and what I hope to see here for Gale Force. And so that is essentially Bela going beyond the fort, proxying. The other one, Eric is capturing always up on top while Olaf is just kind of skirmishing around, and you are just essentially making that top laner, if he doesn't have wave clear, lose so much pressure and you never gain the top shrine. But then there's a Zeratul, and a Dahaka is never going to struggle. Dahaka has that wave clear. He's totally fine with tanking the minions. He's never going to be drained, and Zeratul is going to be picking those up left and right. Also, Zagara is vulnerable to the Zeratul. We haven't even talked about Roll20 picked the Zeratul into the Zag of Lag Force last time. They want teams to pick Zeratul. Or Zag. It's literally like Glarn goes, all right, pick me the Zeratul. It's over. It's just way too much pressure for them to deal with.
Gale Force is employing a double specialist strategy to start their reverse sweep against Roll20. We'll see if it works out. Here they are in the blue, Gale Force. Mike's going to be playing the Zagara. Not sure if you got to see yesterday, but it's K1 Pro who now plays Vikings for Gale Force esports.
I was sitting at home, and when I saw, the fact that K1 Pro was in fact not, or was on the, was on the Vikings.